And we are back. And I'm smiling really hard. So, those of you who are just listening, you can't see me smile. But if you're watching on Patreon, you see me smile because I have a really amazingly beautiful, I think so, in front of me. Dr. Vicky Johnson, how are you?
I
How
am
are you?
well, Kenya. We can hear you smiling though. Even if they can't see you, they can hear you because you smile when you sing, you smile when you talk. So they hear
It's
the
so,
smile. All good.
it's,
So
it's
excited to be here.
Ah, good. I hope they hear your smile too. And you're right, because you're a singer, which is not a part of what I think the girl can sing, but she don't talk about that. I don't know if you talk about that, but so much. I know that you talk about loving music in your spaces, but so yes, when I sing, it's you're supposed to smile when you sing to get the
Right.
tone lifted. Yeah. But anyway, we're not gonna talk about me singing. We're gonna talk about you.
Okay.
I have a lot of questions that I want to ask you. I'm not going to get through them all. But before I ask the first question, I want to read something to you. So I want you just to relax and then just kind of take in what I have to say, and then we'll go
Okay.
from there. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Dr. Vicky Johnson is a dynamic speaker, chaplain, radio show podcast host, and impassioned author whose words have touched thousands of women across the world. She's the CEO of Soul Wealth LLC, which is the parent company of the Soul Wealth Academy. Throughout her life, Dr. Vicky has felt a deep connection to her ancestors and an ardent calling to serve others. Following the path forged from generations of trailblazers, her life has been guided by their legacy and driven by her passion to empower women to live authentically and purposefully. Ultimately, her purpose is to help women rise above their current circumstances to boldly and confidently live an amazing life. So, Vicky,
Yes, ma'am.
how did that feel hearing me read that to you?
It felt great. It felt on point. It felt accurate.
Mm,
It
mm,
resonated because it's true.
yeah.
And I was listening to the words and simultaneously remembering when
Mm,
I was that woman
mm,
who desperately needed a me, which is how I became me doing this work.
mm,
I became the woman I needed.
mm,
So, to women who hear that, it has multiple meanings for
mhm,
me. And the intention that I prayerfully set each day is that I want to cross paths with women who are looking for me. So that
mm,
whole sentence is I am looking for who's looking for me,
mm,
because I know this is an assignment, and I know that there are women who are currently where I was. So I am equipped to guide them to that place of, is this my life? Yeah,
mm.
it's
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. Well, if you guys haven't already got a hint, this is going to be a deep discussion. She's already, me just reading your bio suggests, but what you just said is so powerful in the sense of, and I think people have to understand this. Most people who are in healing work is because of a tremendous amount of healing work they've had to do for themselves and continue to do. There's to me, there's no finish line with that.
Right. It
There's
never
it's
stops.
no, no. And I love that you said, listening to that, you remember being that woman that needed that. And I too, it's funny because I don't think I consciously was like, let me give what I needed. But as a result, yes, of those things that I had gone through, I just know I'm not alone. I know that, I couldn't possibly be in this isolated silo experiencing things that have depleted me. And, so that's even why I'm doing this podcast, because I know people are having a hard time figuring out life after 40, after 50, after 60. and what to do. So that was beautiful. And I want, I gave kind of your accolades of what you do, and professionally, and I think even personally. But I'd love to hear and love for you to share what, and you hinted that you were that woman, so there was a lot that was happening, but what made you say, I'm going to, other than I want to serve that woman that was me, but doing a whole company, having all of these spaces where you're really able to do this, what do you think brought you to like, no, I have to make this more expansive as opposed to just maybe a traditional, I'm gonna go be a therapist in a room and help somebody. Why do you think it's been expansive like this?
It's my response to a call.
Mm.
It's me being obedient because the truth is, I wanted to be a flight attendant.
That's a little bit of a difference.
This is not what I dreamed of. I
Mm,
wanted to be a flight attendant. I wanted to travel the world, have fun, mind my business, go to exotic places. This is not what I dreamed about being.
mm,
It literally is an evolution. It is my agreeing with what I call God whispers through my life.
mm,
And it happens, the word, everybody, I believe everybody has a word. My word is serendipity. So soul wealth has evolved serendipitously while I
mm,
have been doing this work to heal my life, to manifest joy, to live perpetually from a place of pleasure and from a place of liberation, from a place of
mm,
faith, all the things from a place of vision, compassion, authenticity,
mhm,
legacy, abundance. That's what soul wealth is. And so the evolution and expansion of soul wealth has happened very organically.
mm,
I did not intend to be an author, certainly wasn't trying to be a speaker,
mm,
was not intending to be a mentor. The only thing really that I am doing that was on purpose is my 40 plus 40 plus years career in entertainment, media, and music.
mm,
That was intentional.
mhm,
Everything else, podcasting, being on the radio, literally serendipitously happened. Everything you asked me about, oh, that was serendipitous. Oh, did you want
yeah.
that? Just happened. You were on the radio for 7 years before. Serendipitous. Back at BET, 18 years at BET, serendipitous. Literally, I did not apply for that job, for example. I was
Mm.
in the mall on a Sunday with my daughter, picking up pictures that she had taken. Back then, it took about 2 weeks before you
Right.
could take
Before you
pictures.
get right.
And I was in the mall on a Sunday afternoon picking up her pictures from one of those places in the mall and literally was turning around after picking her up and literally bumped into the woman who was my internship supervisor when I was a student at Howard University. I had done my internship at BET, and she said, Vicky Kennedy, which was my name, Vicky Kennedy. I said, hey, Sharon. She said, girl, this is God. What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, picking up pictures for my daughter. No, 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 no. Are you working? And I was not working at the time. She said,
Mm.
I need you. I need you. I just went back to BET. I was at Channel 7 and then I was at Channel 4 and I just went back to BET to help them start their jazz channel and I need an assistant. She said, hear me, fax me your resume
Mm.
tomorrow or as soon as you can. That was a Sunday. I faxed her my resume on Monday. I started on Tuesday.
Oh.
I started on Tuesday because she sent it to, at the time, BET was hiring freelancers through Maslow Media. And I started on Tuesday and I was there for 18 years.
Oh
That was
my
that
gosh.
was like in August of 1997, and I became permanent in December of 1998, I believe, and was there for 18 years.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
and I have a story like that for every section of my life,
Yeah.
literally, which is
Yeah.
how I got to NABFEM, which is how
Yeah.
I met you,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is how we're here today. Like, I have a story for every area of my life, just like that.
It's so funny because, well, first of all, serendipity, yes, is your word. For sure.
Mhm.
And, when we first met, there was just an energy, like, I just saw myself in you. Like, it was weird because, I mean, it wasn't like a whole lot of dialogue
It was not.
initially, but it was just an energy. And it was kind of like, oh, your last name Johnson, mine's Johnson. Oh, you went to Howard, I went to Howard. So it was a little kind of
Oh, you were in
that.
Howard Gospel Choir? I was in
I was
Howard
in
Gospel
Howard Gospel
Choir.
Choir.
Oh, you sing? Oh, I sing.
Oh,
Yep.
I see. So it was kind of like that. But hearing you just say that, that's exactly the same with me. People constantly ask, like, how are you doing all this? And I'm like, I wish I could say I was sitting down and planning, and I'm like, there is a voice, there's a for me it's an energy that I feel, and I'm going through that right now. And I hear the whisper, and I'm like, God, you really? Like, really, y'all? Like, I mean, I take so many risks. I'm like, I do so many leaps. Y'all want me to do another one? And it's like a and it's a clear yes. It's not a like, well, no, it's a yes. So I'm dealing with that right now. I won't go all into it, but to your point, that calling, and I definitely, because I think a lot of people still, that can be very abstract. So I don't know, can you explain when you say, there's a calling on your life and you follow that? I think people interpret that in either a heavy kind of religious, deep, abstract, but doesn't have to be. So how would you
No.
describe that? And yeah, how can a person know that?
It feels like peace.
Mm,
It feels like peace. It feels like alignment. It feels like, yeah, that's it. That feels good.
mm,
It's a
yeah,
feeling that we are taught not to follow and then come back around full circle to follow and trust our gut.
mm, mm,
It's a feeling. It feels like peace. It
mm,
feels like that's me.
mm.
It feels like, oh, that lights me up. That's something I would do anyway,
Yeah,
regardless. That is
yeah,
definitely me. It feels like someone following a career path because that's what their parents approved of. And then they come across someone who says, but your face lights up when you paint.
yeah.
Why are you an accountant
Mm,
and you complain about your job all the time? But your face lights up when you paint
mm,
or when you sing
mhm,
or when you do music. So that's how you know. That's how you follow the whisper, because the better you feel, the more you allow.
mm,
A
mm,
lot of people are sick, depressed, discouraged, disappointed because they are betraying themselves so they can please other people.
mm.
And it takes courage to stop pleasing other people, parents, spouse, mentors, teachers. What do you want? What's in your heart? Well, I
Yeah,
want to bake cakes and make cookies and sell them. Okay. There's something to that. So
yeah,
follow that. Well,
yeah.
I don't have money yet. I don't know
Well,
where.
that's where I
It
was gonna go,
doesn't
Vicky.
matter.
Is the money, because
It
that is
doesn't
what.
matter.
Okay.
The first step is agreeing with what you know to be true for you. Because with every yes, the next yes reveals itself.
Mm.
You got
Yeah.
to turn the ship in that direction first. It's not, well, let me see if there are any waves that way. No, turn the ship, and the course will be made plain to you as you go.
Mm.
Right? That's trusting our intuition and leaning into our faith and really knowing that our gifts make room for us
Mhm.
and bring us before greatness, and as we move in that direction, we have peace. As we move in that direction, resources begin to reveal themselves. You meet people, your paths cross, you're having a conversation. Oh, I can help you with that. Oh, I can introduce you to someone who can help you with that. It's
Yeah.
just living authentically. A
Yeah.
lot of times, though, Kenya, people aren't aware that those indicators, I'm going to call them, exist because they're not being authentic. They're being someone they're
Mm.
not, or they're being who other people think they should be. Well, if you're not being who you are, then the resources that are along your pathway can't reveal themselves because you're not really showing
Yeah.
who you are.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's not who I'm supposed to reveal myself to. So let me just wait until she comes along and then I'll show myself. So it's really
Yeah.
about authenticity and living true to who you know you're called to be.
Mm. Well, that's a word. That's words. Because I think that the money, and so it's funny as I do these interviews, people will say, oh, how do you have the energy to do? I'm like, listen, these interviews are my therapy. They're my connection to expand me. So, listening to what you just said, as I said, I definitely get in these spaces where I don't question the call. I usually question the timing. I'm usually like, really, like right now, like this is now, okay, really now. So timing is something, but I know that money, and to your point, when you're not living authentically, it's almost it's kind of like we create these little Frankensteins, or we have these and I say Frankenstein because it's kind of a bit of a monster we create that now is functioning and we don't quite know what to do with the functioning monster, right? Like, so I know I love to cook and bake, but my house, my mortgage, my kids' school, private school, my expenses, everything is tied to the accountant salary that I
Mhm,
have. And
mhm.
so, how am I supposed to pivot from that to do this that I know nothing about? And I think that's where people kind of get stuck, is to your point, leaning into the faith,
Yeah, and
leaning in.
and
Mhm.
let me say, I'm not one to tell people to quit their good six-figure job to go do what you love. That's not wisdom
Yeah. Mm.
to me. Okay? We have common sense. So I don't ascribe to you got to do either or. I ascribe to both and.
Mm.
And both and means you come up with a transition plan if that's what you want, or you come up with a way to do both.
Mm. Mhm.
You get to write the vision and make it plain. So if you love both, do both. If you don't love both, keep doing what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So
Yeah.
maybe that's going to work and then coming home and doing a little bit, or going to work and doing your business on the side on the weekends. And as they say, stacking your money,
Yeah.
or coming up, what's my number? Like, it requires some responsibility and accountability and support from other people on your part. Now the internet is a gift in that
Mhm.
if there are other people doing what we want to do, we can Google them and look at their story and see what they did, just for inspiration, not to copy.
Mm.
And this is
Mhm.
really for somebody because my nose is tickling. That's why I'm doing this for people who are like watching and this. My nose doesn't
Girl, I
tickle like
told you
they're
you ministered to me. So I'm
so,
yeah.
it's a plan. It's a vision. Like it's when you agree with it, then who and what you need shows up.
Mm,
So the people you need to, ask questions, who will willingly give you answers. One of the things that I have heard millionaires, billionaires, and very successful people say in like intimate settings is nobody ever asks them.
mm.
It's like I want to share how I got here, but nobody ever asks me.
Nobody asked. Ooh.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody asked me to mentor them.
Yeah.
They just invite me to their platforms. We talk, but they never ask me for more. So I don't say anything.
Good point.
So the point is ask
Yeah.
and ask largely. Take the risk.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe it's not money you need. Maybe it's mentorship.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe it's being in certain rooms. Maybe it's getting in certain spaces and just observing and learning and taking notes and studying people who are doing what you want to do successfully. There's
Mm.
always a way.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
there's always a way to get done what you want to get done. That's how I live my life. If it's in
Yes.
my mind, I'm like, okay, God, it's in my mind. Okay, show me what to do next. Point me in the right direction. Allow the right people to cross my path so I
Mm.
can get what I need to get to the next step.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's about being open, open minded, open hearted, open handed. And here's a big one for me, building genuine relationships
Mhm.
and not
Yes.
being transactional.
Mm. And so that's one of my words too, is moving from transaction to transformation. And how do you create those relationships? Yes, that go beyond transaction.
Yeah. It takes
How
time.
yeah, yeah,
It takes
yeah,
time and authenticity, right? It takes
yeah.
time. It doesn't mean we have to talk every day. It doesn't mean we have to talk for hours when we do talk, but it is about being genuine
Mm.
and sincere and truly connecting and being fully present and not just calling when you want something or when you need something. Or, that was another peeve of mine when I worked at BET. Around
Mm.
May, 1st of June, my phone would start blowing up. And so with my emails, hey, can I get tickets to the BET Award? So I was there for 18 years. So like around year 5 or 6, I caught on. I was like, you know what? Some people I only hear from like May, June. And then we don't talk
Yeah.
anymore until May, June.
Dude.
So I started posting on my social media. If we have not talked in the last 9 months, do not call me for tickets.
Ooh. Yes,
Like, I'm
yes.
just putting it out there. Like, don't come to me. Find another way.
Right.
Because my limited allocation of tickets are for people who I am in relationship with
Mm.
and who have brought some reciprocity to the table. Not you do for me, I do for you. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean true relationship.
Mm.
So that's
Yes.
who I'm giving my tickets to. So if we haven't talked in like the last 9 months, don't call me.
Yeah. Well, Vicky, you have like this energy, and just what you just said is very boundaried, right? You figured it out. It's like, no, I'm going to create this boundary. This is what I can do and what I can't do. And even trusting the calling and moving. There's a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Certainty, confidence that you really, really radiate in a really calm way. And so I would love to hear what work did you have to do since maybe you were saying I became the woman that I've or the mentor, the person I needed at the
Mhm.
time. What did you do? How did you cultivate yourself? How did you do this inner work to kind of feel like you're, in the space that you are in now?
So I hear in my head, and I move through life to a soundtrack, right? There's always music in my head. And the song that just came to me is Pick Up the Pieces.
Mm.
So early
Love it.
on in my life, I was piecing myself out.
Mm,
Piece of me here, a piece of me there. Maybe if I drop a piece of me over here, you know, it'll help me do, be, have, see. So when it all fell apart, let me just insert here
mm.
parenthetically. When your life completely falls apart, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Let it fall apart. If stuff is
Yeah.
falling apart, like it's just one thing after the next, that is what I call a divine dismantling. Let it
Mm.
fall apart.
All right, I gotta write that. Right.
Just let it fall apart.
Divine
Mhm.
dismantling. Okay, go
A
ahead.
divine dismantling. So that now you can begin to pick up the pieces that remain that are relevant, that have some resonance with them, you know, and you can begin now to build your life, putting things back together or putting things where they should have been
Mm,
in the first place.
mhm,
So that pick up the pieces is very real because I started reclaiming not just my time, but my energy and my power. And
mhm,
now I'm going to protect what I now know is very valuable and be guided when dispensing
mm,
my gift. Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this who I'm supposed to be talking to, doing this with? Now very discerning, being
mhm,
intuitive, being guided and fulfilled
mm,
in a way that I don't give out of my capacity anymore. If I'm not full, I don't have it to give.
mm,
I only give, live, love, and serve others from my overflow.
mm,
Because
mm,
before I was piecemealing myself away, giving out of what was my reserve, and that has a tendency to create resentment
mm.
and anxiety and lack and just all the things that we don't want. So now I am very intentional about my self care, about my self love, about my self awareness, and self preservation. So that now
Mm.
I'm offering my gifts to the world from a place of overflow. So it's very intentional,
Yes.
it's very methodical, it's very strategic, and sometimes it's selfish. And I think that women
Yes.
need to hold on, let me take need back. I offer to women to consider being
Mm,
selfish and being okay with being selfish. Like, you know what? That doesn't serve me anymore. That doesn't work anymore. Oh, you got me once. You maybe got me twice, but you won't get me a third time. Learning the lesson. Like, there are no failures, just lessons. We can
mhm,
shout success
mhm,
from the mountaintop. No failure, just lessons. What do I need to learn so that doesn't happen again?
mm.
And that's how I did it. And that's what I help other women do. Let's look at your life. Let's look at what's working. Let's look at what's not working. What do you want more of? What do you want less of? Like it
Mm,
really requires intention and focus and being not just ready, but one of my mentors says being deeply ready
mm,
and available. Because if you're not deeply willing, ready, and available to change, you're not going to do it.
You're not going
You're
to do it.
not going to stick with it. You will find an excuse that's weighty enough to interrupt your process. And you just have to put transformation and healing on the back burner until you are deeply ready. Because when you are deeply ready, now your mindset is whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whatever it takes. If I got to walk away from that, whatever it takes.
Yes.
Stop doing that so my heart will stop racing so I won't have palpitations. Okay, whatever it takes.
Well, and that's I wonder, and I have so many questions, girl. I have written down like on my little scratch sheet. I'm like, I don't have any more room. But um that deeply ready piece, it feels as though the human condition, which I think is normal to be in a more crisis space where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm deeply ready.
Mhm.
But is that necessary to get in crisis before we're deeply ready? You know what I mean? I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Is it just kind of a function
For
of being a
some people, it
human?
is. For other
Yeah.
people, they just have the will to make a choice and change.
Yeah.
Other people become complacent in where they have settled. And it is going to take something drastic for them to say, whoa, this ain't it. This ain't what you want. Another song. This ain't what you want. Mm-mm. Sometimes it takes that to shock us, and jolt is a better word. Jolt us
Mm,
out of complacency
mhm.
because it's familiar. Even when you know familiar is not really what you want, you settle for it because sometimes what's familiar is easier
Absolutely.
than stepping into the unknown and taking a chance and taking a risk and being courageous.
Mm. Vicky, you are saying you are ministering. We did say she was a chaplain. We did say you are no, you're really ministering, and I think your nose was itching probably because of me in this moment, but I'm certain. I
Like,
am
this is
certain.
different.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you.
Well, I'm in a
Like,
really interesting. I mean, it's funny. I needed to hear all that you're saying as a
mhm,
reminder. I mean, I'm very I live my life very similarly, but because and before we push record, I was telling you I feel like Pigpen because I have so many people around me, um,
mhm,
who not my clients that I'm like working with coaching, but just family and close friends who are going through
mhm,
some really crisis spaces right now. And I can tell I've allowed their energy to get in me in a way where I'm feeling like I got to do something about it. But this is their journey and I need to, the best I can do is potentially hold space, but not forget me, right? So
right.
a lot of the nose itching is coming to me. But I would love to hear we have a couple and I'm like, we are 30 minutes into this. There's no way. But I have a couple more questions and we're going to go
Okay.
into our bonus. And those of you listening who are not on Patreon, as you can see, listen, Vicky has a lot of jewels and her energy is really amazing. And I'm going to tap even deeper in that bonus section with a couple questions. But you mentioned you do self-care for yourself. And one of the things that I always make sure I ask our guests, because self-care can look like so many things for people. And
Yeah.
I think it's important people hear variety of self-care and don't get stuck in
Mhm.
thinking self-care means one thing or that self-care is just a trend at this point. What is it that you do that fills your cup, that keeps you so that you're able to be you?
Eat me a slice of chocolate cake when I want.
Good.
I love chocolate on chocolate cake, and I have some favorite places where I go. So I'm that brownie girl. I'm a
Mhm.
slice of chocolate on chocolate cake girl. Or I go hiking. I
Yeah.
get a massage monthly. I have an
Mhm.
intuitive energy healer that I go to for regular support.
Mm.
I meditate. Did I say I go hiking? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
climbing rocks and
Yeah.
walking along the river and going through trails. And I hike all year round. I hike in winter, spring, summer, and fall. I
Mm.
love to travel. I love the ocean. It could be it could be whatever my soul needs. It could be
Mhm.
sleep.
Mhm.
I just need to
Mhm.
shut it down
Mm.
and be quiet
Mm.
and sleep or watch movies or just listen to the wind.
Mm.
I'm very tuned in with nature and the healing properties of
Mm.
nature.
Mm.
I might just want to go for a walk, go out in the sun, stand in the grass barefoot and get grounded, pull
Mhm.
out my essential oils, or go play my sound bowls or my
Yeah.
rain stick. Like, it's a variety over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
So,
variety over here. And it's what I want. Like, I trust my higher self.
mm.
I trust God in me. So it might not look like what other people are doing, but it works for me. And that's good enough for me.
Ooh. I had to write that down too, trusting your higher self, because that piece right there, and that's something that I don't know if I've given it as much language in this space, the podcast talking about higher self, as I do when I'm, working with people, because that's the divine, that's the God, that's the
Mhm.
source that's within. And so, being able to do those activities, those self-care things that allow you to connect to higher self, that is connecting to God in you. That's, so whatever that allows for, yes, that is a huge thing that I know that I practice, continuously. Where do I need to, how do I get to hear that voice? How do I get to hear the truth? So does that mean, yes, being with nature? Does that mean resting? Does that mean calling someone? For me, I have certain people in my life who, um, I know hold space really special for me. And sometimes my self-care, I too have an intuitive healer that I work with monthly, and a massage. I told you, girl, we just be mirroring each other. Okay. So everything you said. Now I don't do the hikes. And I think if I lived in a different area, that was a bit more accessible for it. Like I'm from Colorado. So if I was back in Colorado, it just screams hike all day. Like that's just the environment of what Colorado is. But being in Chicago, it's different. But we are definitely mirroring each other. But this is what I want people to really highlight, other than the chocolate cake and but going, meaning though, these are things that make you feel good.
Yes, exactly. Period.
Period.
It
Period.
feels good to me.
Period. Period.
Like, I don't need other people to approve it. It
Yeah.
feels good to me. And
Yeah.
that is a part of picking up the pieces, reclaiming my power and my energy, and not needing other people's approval,
Mm,
which takes courage, particularly for someone like me who is an ordained elder, who has ascribed to Christianity and all these other things, because I also am connected to my ancestral DNA and spirituality, which is Native American, Cherokee, and Creek Indian,
mm,
as well as Igbo from Nigeria and the Mende
mm.
tribe in Sierra Leone. All of that is me.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't allow the conditioning and programming of people whose faith has been colonized and or
Mm,
gentrified to tell me who, how, what it looks like. God is great in me,
mm,
and I
mm,
am great in God. So I trust that in me to guide me every step of the way. And this is the work that I've done, and it's the work that I help women to do, is to lean
yeah.
in to who is guiding you and what does she sound like, look like, how does
Mm,
she move. Yes, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, and Holy Spirit is a woman.
Mm. See, now you're gonna push us.
That's
See,
a
we need a
whole
whole new.
other
I said we need
conversation.
a whole new episode, but I think it's really important because this
Yeah.
season, each month, you are my spiritual healer for the month of November. A guest. Each month, I've been attempting to bring in healers and people who work within spiritual spaces and help people in that because I think I can't I don't know in my lifetime if there's been a more critical state of us getting to the truth of who we are and how we access that. And to your point, spirituality, understanding, however, whatever your faith you practice, however it is, how is it
Mhm.
allowing you to get to truth and divinity and the divine?
How is it allowing
So,
you to get to truth? And I just would like to insert very
mhm,
quickly
yes.
the question that has brought me to this point that I offer as a tool to whoever is listening who stays in a place of spiritual curiosity.
Mm,
Who told you that? Is the question. Where did you get that from? Who told you that? Who told you that was wrong?
mm,
Who told you you couldn't do that? Where did you get that from? Who did your ancestors pray to before Genesis to Revelation was written by King James?
right.
How did our ancestors connect to God? Right?
Right.
Every answer begets a new question because salvation, faith, spirituality did not start with King James.
No.
There was something before then. Explore that and follow the answers. That's what I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes and yes. The curiosity, I allowing ourselves to get curious in spaces that have been scary or deemed as wrong or whatever. There's just so much richness when you get curious in that space.
offering.
Because this doesn't mean you're doing, it doesn't mean you've changed your life, it doesn't mean you no longer, it just, I'm curious, I'm just gonna just ask the questions.
Yeah.
And to your point, with everything else that you said, I call these the breadcrumbs. Things will be revealed. Follow the breadcrumbs. um okay. All right. So two last questions because we are getting close on our time. One, if there's a woman who is listening and is like, OMG, I need this woman in my life. So how can women work with you? What is the protocol? What is the process?
Just
Quickly,
reach
like,
out to me via my website, VickyJohnson.com. It's VIKKI Johnson.com. Send me a message and say, I want to work with you.
mm,
That's simple. I'm real laid back. Who I am right
yes,
now is who I am all the time.
yes,
Sometimes I have felt inadequate, to be honest with you, and very transparent because I don't do a lot of gatekeeping. I don't have a lot of systems and things like that. But I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, let's get to the heart of the matter. You want to work with me? Okay, let's talk about it. This is what it costs. This is what you get. This is what we can do. So just send me a note via my website, VickyJohnson.com. I'm on all social media at all things Vicky, all things VIKKI. Connect with me there if
yes.
you're not able to connect with me via my website.
I love it. And I promise you all, everything she just said, she's not just saying this for the podcast. This is who you are. And even in your social media posts, it is who you are. And I was gonna say, at a minimum, even if you don't feel like you need to have one-on-one time with Vicky, go please follow her on the social media. We'll have everything in our show notes because you are such a light and
Thank
you
you.
provide, everything that you just said. It's clear that this is who you are because it's consistent. It's a consistent
Mhm.
energy that radiates in person, online. So grab you guys some of the soul wealth that is being spread and listen to her podcast, which again, I'll put all of this in the show notes so that people can really dig in. And so, because you're a music head like myself, I
Mhm.
asked this question of all my guests because we have a Spotify playlist. What is your theme song? Now I know that may be hard to pick one. I am making a rule now. Guests cannot give me any more than two. So if you, I will give you up to two, but you got to narrow it down. If you know there's just one, then you can say that one.
My theme song?
Your theme song. What is a song that just it motivates you whenever you hear it? It's like this is my jam. This is what just I just feel good when I hear it. Don't be sorry for that.
Probably there. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna do these two songs. So
Okay.
prior to my current podcast, the Soul Wealth Radio Show, I did a daily feature for 7 years on WPGC AM here in the Washington D.C. area
Mm.
called "I'm Every Woman," and the
Mm.
theme song was Shaka
Yes.
Khan's "I'm Every Woman."
Yes.
I
Yes.
can be the one right now, everyone from A to Z. And I
Yes.
really believe that. That song
It's
turns me
just
on every time. Like that is just what it is.
yeah.
Because everything I need, I already have it.
Yes.
It's just waiting on my recognition and awareness of it to bring it forth. That to me is what that song means. The second theme song literally is my theme song for my current podcast, Listen to Your Heart by our
Mm.
friend Frank McComb.
Yes.
Listen to your heart. Your heart is never wrong. Always face the truth. Your heart won't lead you wrong.
Yeah.
And I am a heart centered person. So I'm really grateful that, he approved me using that song and said, yeah, sure, whatever.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, whatever you want. That would be
Yeah.
great. But
Yeah.
that song resonates with me because it is the essence of what soul wealth is. Listen to your heart.
Mm.
Your
I
heart
love
is
that
never
song.
wrong.
Yes.
You know, always face the truth. It won't lead you wrong.
Mm-mm.
Trust it. And
Mm.
that's that connecting those dots, following those divine whispers, those divine interruptions, those divine connections. You know here before you know here. You know
Absolutely.
something is wrong here in your heart before you're even aware of it. So listen
Mm.
to your
Mm.
heart so that you can be everything that you're supposed to be.
Mm. I'm so glad you said that song. That because now I can put it on my Spotify list. I love that song. That's I mean Frank is special. Like
Yeah.
his music is it's just I'm like kind of stuttering only because I'm like that is like my jam and I'm like what have I listened to that recently because usually like I have Frank on so many of my playlists but I think the playlist that I have that I'm like I don't think I've listened to that playlist in a minute but to your point our hearts are so connected to our creativity our spirit our essence and
Mhm.
so taking the time to get out of our heads and allow what is happening in our hearts is another way of really kind of getting to that truth and I find that I'm been saying that a lot to people is I know you've thought your way into ABCDEFG now let's see if we can feel a little bit of what's happening so
Listen, the better you feel,
mm,
the more you allow.
hmm
That's
yes
Abraham Hicks.
yes
The better
yes
you feel,
the
the
more you
more
allow
you allow.
Gotta write that down. I write down quote certain things because I'm like, ooh, is that a good title for the podcast? That was that was another gem. I have a lot. This has been lovely. I knew it
Kenya,
would.
I love you. I want to come to
Ah,
your retreat, your getaway, whatever
I
it
would love for
is.
you to come to.
I remember when it was just an idea. I would love to come and just spend time in your space with you and the women
Oh,
who you serve. I love you from day one. Thank you,
oh,
Johnny Walker. Shout out to
no,
our fearless
Johnny.
visionary of
Yes,
NAPFEM. That's the National
yes,
Association of Black Female Executives in Music and
yes.
Entertainment. I honor her because I believe in giving honor where it's due. And she has
Absolutely.
been so pivotal in so many areas at so many times in my life, and I'm
Absolutely.
sure yours too. But this is wonderful.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you. for following
Oh,
through. I remember when you talked about doing the podcast, when you talked about doing your retreat, when you talked about, just serving women in this way. So thank
yeah.
you for saying
Ah,
yes to your
I
calling. This was an easy yes for me. I was like, yeah, girl, whatever you want. Just text me, email me, whatever you want, we'll make it happen. So here we are.
I appreciate you so much because you do. You just respond like, "Yeah, of course, I got you." And I think, I hope that I want to be able to do that for you and for other people, because that's, I don't know. I think, as women, we have few spaces, as people, we have few spaces where we can have mirrors and people in our lives to hold the space and the encouragement. So you're right. I have told you about all, because I told you it's much like what you just said. I get these little, I gotta whisper now, and I was gonna ask you this. Astrology is my, it definitely, I did not know that. So let me say this. I've always followed astrology since I was a little girl, very
Me too.
naturally.
Me
Yep.
too.
And I never, no, I don't remember anybody teaching it per se to me, but it just clicked. But I always kept it for me. It was my, like, just way of, like, my almost private little secret to a degree, because I knew that if I knew person's birthday, like, it could tell me a whole lot, and I could feel and, follow my gut in that way. But in the past year and a half, it's become very clear that God and my ancestors are like, baby, this ain't just for you to hold. This is not just for you to hold. This is for you
To share.
yes, to share.
Mhm.
And so I've been doing way more readings. It delights my soul beyond, when people get confirmed, affirmed, acknowledged in the truths that they were scared, or the truths that they were conditioned out of.
Mhm.
So I realized that there's more work, more space for me to share in that. And that's where I'm like, really, really, God, like, you want me to really, like, that far, So you've ministered to me, because, there's a lot I'm used to taking a lot of leaps, and each leap astounds me each more, more. And so what you've said today, I know that listeners will find very powerful. And I personally, I needed to hear this, and I think that's why your nose was itching so badly. But
Yeah, because it stopped. I haven't I haven't touched my nose in the last 10 minutes, right? I got it out.
yep, that's what it was. That's
I was
what it
like,
was.
God, what
That's it's
is going
yeah, Lord. I asked for it. I've been asking. This weekend was the eclipse, and it was a very powerful weekend for me. And I'm very clear on some things that I want next. And so everything you just said was like, okay, go then and do it. Like, follow what you need. And what you said is really important about the job thing, because I think a lot of people don't understand how to hold two spaces.
on?
And that's something that I am very intentional and make sure I can, not just be, I'm strategic. So
So I will close, if I may, with
yeah.
this.
Hmm.
The amplified version of Job 22, which is my favorite scripture,
Mm, hmm.
says, agree with God quickly so that you can have peace and good will come to you. I
Mm,
live by that. Agree
yes.
with God quickly so you can have peace and good will come to you. You don't have to go looking for it, it will come to you.
Yes.
God is in you. So agree with God, agree with yourself. You know this. You have this mind of God, you have the wisdom of God, you have access to it. Agree with it so you can have peace, and
Mm,
then good will come to you.
mm.
And one of the greater challenges that I have now overcome is really trusting that. Like, God, is it really that simple?
That's me.
And when I try to make it complex, I come back to it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Stop making easy things difficult because you don't believe the simplicity of it.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Believe it.
because we watch so much chaos too, and we think that we must, it it's this weird kind of subconscious thinking that we must have complication, or there has to be
For it to be
disturbance.
real.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah,
true.
yeah. No, not at all.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much.
You're
We're getting ready
welcome.
to go. Ah, absolutely. We're getting ready to go to our bonus. I have two little quick questions in our bonus. And those of you who want to hear more from Vicky in this space on the podcast, again, if you're part of our Patreon, then you will get the goods. You'll get the video and the bonus. So you just go to patreon.com/finding your voice. If you're not and you're going to be tuning out, that is fine. We will be back again next week with more interviews. And I think, yeah, the timing of this interview, we have another very special interview coming up following this one at the time that it airs. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Just understand, I had my son SON on one of my episodes. And so my other son is going to make an appearance. So I believe the timing. I'll edit this out if that doesn't happen, but it should be at that timing. So I just want to give him some love. So thank you, Vicky. Hold
You're
tight.
welcome.
Yes, yes. And we'll be back. Okay, quick bonus, two quick questions.
Okay.
Um, and I you kind of answered in our main, but I want to dig a little bit deeper. I think that a lot of I see it in our generation of women more. I feel like my younger women, my women who are millennials, even I'm starting to get Gen Z women to tap in, but my Gen X, which is kind of my 50 plus.
Hmm.
I'm finding that our women, there is Hmm. There is a fear I had. I'll use this as an example, and you tell me how you would have responded to this. I have a friend who said, "I'm watching you do kind of this more expansive spirituality, doing the astrology, whatever. But in Bible study, they're telling me not to do this. They make it so bad. They make it like, but you seem like you make it so peaceful." And so, and I think a lot of women are in this kind of, I'm stuck with, I was taught of this in the church, but I'm seeing these other things. What advice would you give that woman who feels like I have to still be committed to what I learned and what I was told in the church? And you kind of said, you alluded to it, but I wonder if you can expand a little bit. That woman, how can she be more expansive if she still wants to stay committed to the church that or that life?
So my question, I would ask questions. Why do you want to stay committed to something that's no longer serving you?
Mm,
It's not serving you because you're asking questions about it.
mm,
If it was serving you, it would be in alignment with you. You would have peace about it. But there's more. So your higher self is calling you up into this high place
yeah.
that we talk about in
Mm,
scripture. There is no separation, limitation, restriction. So if you're asking questions about it, perhaps you're being called into a higher place. But
mm,
why do you want to stay committed and restricted and limited to something that is clearly calling you?
right.
So
Right.
you get to choose. And that question again is, how is that working for you?
Right.
And you
Right.
get to choose. You can say, you know what? I don't I don't feel like the drama. I don't feel like having to answer. I don't feel like being in a discourse about it. So it's just easier for me to stay put. Okay, you get to choose that and make yourself content with that.
Mm, mm.
Because people
It
don't have to do anything. You get to
exactly.
choose.
You always get to choose. You
Mhm.
are always in a space of being able to choose. I
Yeah.
just to your point, I just was I actually was getting a facial done. And the woman giving me the facial, she's like, "I heard you do astrology. Can you tell me more about that?" So I was just kind of explaining it. Again, I'm just and it came out in the conversation that she had left her church because she wanted to do more. She wanted to, get into some other spaces spiritually. But she said, I had so much peace. It just felt so good once I got out. And she's like, but there were a couple of prayers that weren't necessarily getting answered. So I thought God was mad at me. So I decided to get rid of all that. And I went back to the church. And just this confusion. And I think, that confusion piece, um, is something that a lot of people are also like, okay, fine, I chose, I'm going to go here. But then it didn't happen the way that I thought it would happen. So, that I must have done something wrong. Let me let go of that and go back over here. I hear this often with
Well,
men.
what if you did something right and the tension is you finally breaking completely away?
Mm, right.
Just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
The discomfort could mean it's right.
Right.
Because,
Exactly.
when people are zigging, use that. So maybe the discomfort is, well, the crowd is over there, but I'm over here and it's just me. Or it's just me and one or two other people. What if that is God's way for you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Listen, well, we had an experience, and I think that she, she was enlightened. And I wouldn't be surprised if she goes back out.
And
But
a lot
that's,
of times
yeah,
people demonize what they don't understand,
absolutely.
right? And so you get to choose if you want to explain or not, because you don't have to do that either. You don't have to explain what you're doing.
Mm-mm.
You get to say, I believe
Yes.
this is God's ordered steps for me. And
Yes.
I trust God.
Yes.
And I trust God that if I'm going this way and things don't work out, air quotes, whatever that means, I trust that God will help me course correct and bring me back into alignment for the will of God for my life. See, I'm
Mm,
taking personal responsibility for it all,
absolutely.
for my
Absolutely.
curiosity and for, I'll say, consequences that may be good consequences
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
because I
giving
have
it
peace.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and giving it time. I think
Mhm.
that fear gets in, and people don't allow certain things to get revealed and get
Mhm.
informed by that.
Mhm.
My final question is, what is something that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked, or just something, and you kind of gave a last mic drop, but if there's something else that you'd like to leave our audience on Patreon with, either or.
Live full so you can die empty,
Mm.
which is how I close my podcast every day.
Right, I was about to say, I think I've heard you say that. There.
Live full, live full so you can die empty. Meaning, if
Mm,
it's in your mind, it's in your future. Pursue it all. Why not?
pursue it all. I love you so
I
much.
love you too, Kenya.
Thank you again.
You're
And
welcome.
um yeah, we will I want to do better with staying in touch with you because
Okay.
whenever I'm in this space, I remember like I need to be calling Vicky. Like I need to. So this has just been really, it's been a light for
I'm
me.
here and
I
I'm
know.
available and I am open.
Awesome. Awesome sauce. Well, I'm gonna
Thank
stop
you
our
again.
recording. You're welcome. I'm gonna stop our recording, but you can stay tight for just 2 seconds.
Okay.
And audience, we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.